Love reading Reddit.
You started way too early. They probably just heard reading Reddit.
Wait, recording?
We are.
Hello, Riven Mains and
What are
Yasuo
you
Mains.
Okay, ever since I've been gone, he tried to start an intro. No.
He's back! JTH is back! I missed you!
The reason I wasn't here is because...
He was sick half the...
No, not true. He starts it late, and I keep saying, please start it early so I can participate.
And then I get off really...
You don't. You get off at like 3 and then wait until 9 o'clock or midnight, and you're like, hey, you want to record a video? No, I don't. I want to go to sleep.
You want to come to my house alone and record a video?
I don't want to go anywhere near your house.
All right.
Okay, so what's going on?
You're back! What happened to you? You were sick at one point. I'm too tired for work.
2 months ago. It was 2 months ago.
Alright, so...
Stop doing this so late, man.
EU's over. EU's over. They concluded... What's today? Sunday? They concluded on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be looking back on our... EU
we didn't even pull up our rankings.
Well, we can go to our channel and look at them. Oh, God. They're so bad. Because, like... I know where I place teams. So, let's see. What would... Okay, so let's try and recap of the split now. We could do that. And we could do, what's his name? Our biggest... fail and biggest surprise and biggest upset or best game too. There's a lot of things we can do, so might as well start it. It can be a long podcast, guys.
It's not gonna be that long.
It'll be long.
Okay, let's go.
People love my videos. Dang. Gosh, back in the day when I didn't know how to. Oh man, we lost so many views on just bad titles.
You literally he spoiled. No, this. What is this? Hold up, I'm angry now.
I'm angry.
No. Let's do this later. Okay, so let's find our power rankings first before we do anything. That's probably the best bet here.
It had to be before.
No, it was around here. Let's ranking supports. We did all the lanes. We should have done this before we started the video, honestly.
This is extra content for them to see.
Extra content.
Extra banter content.
Extra banter content. Alright. Power ranking the mid.
Power ranking.
This was LCK.
Yeah. Best roster.
LEC. Oh no, that's not the.
Yeah, spring split power rankings. Holy crap, that was beautiful.
Okay.
Oh my god. Yeah, you put them in. I remember. Okay, so before we start, what was your biggest surprise of the split?
I did not expect Schalke to end up in such a terrible state. Honestly,
we debated for a literal 2 hours about how good or bad they were gonna be, because my thing going in with Schalke was that they're better than teams below them, but not better than teams above them.
That's just the power ranking. They're better than exactly.
They're better than like I had them in playoffs at like 6th place, I think, right? I had them at 5th. So I had them beating every single team that had worse rosters, but not beating teams that had better rosters than them. I thought that like Oda was a good player going into the split. I think that Splyce didn't show that for him, and he played pretty decent. I thought he was the best player on the team at a certain point, and then everything collapsed. Like,
I mean, it came down to. I bet he honestly didn't he was pretty decent at the beginning of the split, but he didn't develop more as a player. I think that his weaknesses in the laning phase, he never really became a team player. All these things that you want to see come from like your rookies, like all these things you want to see them develop like towards they genuinely just didn't do. Like there was they just were so many things that I bet he has talent, and I think he has.
I don't think so.
I think he has potential. I think everybody has potential. But it's only been half, like a split so far.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was not a good showing. I think this is a really bad sign on how much potential he has. And
I think he's one of those players that will be good at certain points.
Maybe.
But he won't be good all around.
I just think that it really was just the definitive reason as to why this team fell apart was one, like their team was centralized around, on top of the fact they always drafted around, was it going to be early game power? I think that like a lot of their players are these playmaking players. You see it in Memento. Odoamne is this good facilitating tank support.
He had some. There was a game where he went 12-0. Yeah. He was popping. He was doing really good toward the end.
Everybody knows that he's a roaming, aggressive, like engaged support, and all of these things that we should have meshed well. Honestly, I looked at their play style, their team play. You really should think that this team really could work out. They have a lot of individual potential, but we see it get into a upset is probably the only person that consistently played well throughout the entirety of the year. I think Odoamne fell off a cliff after a while. I think he played well for the most of the year, and I really did think he was better than Vizicachi for a while. but I think that's kind of not the case anymore.
See, I don't really know. Like, okay, so last year Schalke did this exact same thing. They got leads early on, like they did. Even when they were losing, they got leads, but they messed up every step on how to win the game. And how do you do that, though? You had a better roster than last year's Spring Split roster, and they do the same thing. They get leads, and then they fumble everything.
I mean, it obviously comes down to the lack of a shot caller. I mean, obviously that's the case here. I don't know who the shot caller is. I haven't really... I would assume... I was thinking Odoamne, but maybe not. I would not like it to be Memento, because obviously I did think he was good on Rocat, but it wasn't based off decision-making, so I don't think he should be it. I don't know who the shot caller was. I would like to know.
Mm-hmm.
On top of, like, so lack of a good shot caller, and honestly, there's a few things. Their lack of synergy. A lot of these things, they're not really, like, at the beginning of the year, we saw Ignar, he was roaming mid and stuff, and kind of roaming around with Memento, and that was really their whole thing, was jungle support synergy, and the laners being able to hold themselves down, and they won't lose to anybody, and that really did not translate well into the later half of the season. They stopped doing it. Their plays that they tried to make just didn't work. It's not like by the end of the year they were just not trying. They just fell over and died. They turned into a worse version of Misfits, where they just tried to play through upset, and it just shouldn't have happened. They had a really good thing going on at the beginning of the year, and I'm genuinely disappointed. Like there's no reason that this team with so much individual talent should have fell off a cliff. Mento started playing was Mento even playing by the end of the season? Like, I know he's playing.
Did they even have a jungler toward the end?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's so horrible. He really just...
Okay, that tiebreaker game, he was trying like that, but I think...
I mean, he
single-handedly was the reason why they didn't beat SK.
Yeah, again, he was one of the biggest reasons toward the end of the... Like, he fell off a cliff. He was one of the best... Like, last year, I would say he was the best jungler in the EU. I think that really could have been the title for him. And this year, he was one of the worst by the end of the year. And... Their draft picks were not good.
It's
Their
weird,
coaching
too.
staff is really to blame for this team.
Dylan and Dylan. Yeah, I remember it's Dylan from TL and Clutch, and then Dylan was the ex-Fnatic coach. It was weird. They had an ex-Fnatic coach who was at World Finals the previous year. Like, I thought Dylan's drafts were fine.
I did not.
They gave us a split pusher to Odoamne, who was good at split pushing. They gave an aggressive jungler to Memento. They gave a sustainable mid laner to Abadage, and then they gave an aggressive bot lane for their aggressive bot lane.
Again, I don't think Upset is an aggressive bot laner. I think that, let's just be honest, Upset is more so the old style that Sven had. He's this late game scaling ADC. He's not a lane dominant, though I think with Ignar it's kind of possible. But I also don't think, like, Odoamne is, in my opinion, at his peak when he's playing this sort of tankish top laner. I don't like him as his own, like, kind of viable carry threat. I do think he plays better as a facilitator. It really, like, I just think that their idea of how the game should have been played by this team it just fell apart. They didn't know what kind of game they wanted to play.
What would you say was your biggest mistake in your power rankings?
My biggest mistake, I have to give a lot of credit to SK Gaming.
See, that's the thing.
We have to give them credit. Like,
I'm gonna give them credit, but a lot of the league really started underperforming. Like, I think their coach even said they were not performing very well in scrims, and they really didn't think it would even translate to the stage toward the very end of the last few weeks.
Let's be honest. SK Gaming,
but they were definitely not 10th place material.
Yeah, we put them at 10th place. That was the 10th place, 10th place team in our opinion, and completely off the mark.
Okay, I had Rogue closer than he did. He had Rogue at 8th. I was like, Rogue is terrible, man.
They were both pretty terrible. I mean, Excel and Rogue can be switched around. I think they're both on the same level.
But I really liked what I saw out of SK. I don't think SK are going to be making playoffs next split.
Who do you think is going to take their spot?
I think Schalke will next split
when
they improve.
Like that.
Because I like SK Gaming is a one-player show, one-player team. It's just self-made. Yesterday it was self-made. It's been self-made the whole split.
I agree to an extent, but you can't take away again. I will give the inconsistencies. It is really a part of Kronshot's play, but he is one of the biggest. If he's not playing well, they're not winning. That's how it works. He does.
Like, if you put Kikis on SK, do you think that they make the playoffs?
I don't think so. I'm not going to take away from Selfmade. He's one of the best junglers, if not. He's definitely, at the very least, top 3 jungler in EU. Like, that is undebated. You can't debate that. There's only 3 contestable junglers, which is Yankos, Cold, and Selfmade.
Yeah. Weird, though. No, we didn't. Oh, wow.
I didn't even consider Cold, and I think that was disrespectful because he's played well for a while now. But
SK was another big surprise. I think they did play good, but
their aggressive tendencies really did take a lot of people off guard, and they really
beat Fnatic 0-3.
Like the one thing I have to give Selfmade credit for is he's like, you can't really know what he's gonna. You don't understand what he's gonna do preemptively. He really does change up his pathing a lot, which is something I think almost no junglers really do. His whole play style is just really confusing for the enemy teams. He's one of his ability to get his team rolling in the early game is something I really do appreciate, and his ability to play team fights well, like just as an engager, is something I also think is an incredibly good talent.
I think their lack of a defined style is what really kills them.
I mean, I think their defined style is just a massive amounts of early game aggression, though, right?
I think when you look at their team, it's like they don't really win early. They don't really win late.
I think
they're a pretty good mid game team when they know what they know what to do around mid game mostly, from what I saw. But I don't have a huge faith in them. I still feel like them having a lack of star players is really going to hurt them in the long run.
Possibly.
Like Selfmade is going to get figured out eventually. It just those things always happen.
I don't think so. Again, you can't really figure the good thing about jungling is. If you switch it, the way he plays, he switches up his pathing so much that I really don't think anybody's going to really figure him out.
No, I understand it. He said that same thing yesterday on the PGL thing, but eventually, there's only so many combinations of jungle pathing you're ever going to create.
Yeah, but you don't know which one he's going to do. You can't.
Eventually, someone will pick that up.
You can't prepare.
Are you
for all
sure?
of them. Yes, it's impossible. The jungling is so impossible. Like, if you're not doing the same jungle, you have to know. If you're not doing the same path, they can't know what you're doing because there's so many things.
But is that good enough? Because his team, his players, I also think are incredible.
They're not incredible, but again,
they can keep up.
We can't take away from Warlock has played well this year. I think he's
played okay. He's played better than I expected.
Yeah, Crown Shot, I think he's inconsistent, but when he's on, is a complete monster.
I think Dreams got better as the split progressed.
I think he's okay. I think he's definitely a weak point of this team.
I think Pyrion
again,
same thing.
Again,
he's literally the exact same player. I don't think he's changed
okay.
much. Yeah.
He's played okay. Again, two moderately okay players. Warlock, who's a pretty solid top laner at this point in his career.
Yeah. So that's the thing, as long as they're competent enough to pull off the strategy that they're preparing, they'll be fine. But I don't see them making playoffs next split.
I would have to say I think that they could make playoffs. I don't want them to because it really comes down to the fact that I think they really made it to playoffs because I think a lot of the team, like Misfits, like Shaka just fell apart mentally. They just were not able to compete.
I think if you look at SK's team, it's something just not really super long-term with them. It can't be the self-made show forever because that's literally 1v9 at that point. So I think overall we should have had him at 10th. Next split, I'll have them around 6th, 7th range. So, what super team failed you?
What super team failed me? I'm gonna have to again Shaka.
I'm gonna say Misfits failed me.
Misfits was not, in my opinion. I didn't expect an insane.
He was not on the Misfits hype train.
I mean, let's think about it. Everybody who actually knew Gorilla's playstyle knew it would not translate well over. His whole playstyle, controlled shot calling, and kind of team play is his whole thing. He can make. He's not mechanically he's not bad, but that's not his forte.
But that's the thing. He was mechanically really good at one point.
He was mechanically, yeah, but that's not his forte. That's never been the definitive way he played the game. He can play mechanically, but that's not what he revolves around.
Do you know the reason why I thought they suck?
What?
Because the team hasn't changed at all. This is literally, it's like
you preemptively thought they wouldn't change at all.
I haven't. This is the thing. I haven't seen them change much ever.
They've
always played around.
Roster.
That's the thing though. You might have changed the players, but you haven't changed the style in which they play. They always played around bot lane. They've always put Max Lore on a early game aggressive jungler. They've always had a tank top laner.
I mean, we couldn't know that before the split though.
I mean, 2 weeks in, I was like, this is the exact same team.
They looked really good at the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Again, Max Lore was playing really well at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. But they themselves, the Misfits are just... People always rag on Vitality for playing the same way. Misfits have played the exact same way. Misfits haven't changed a bit.
They've played
They play through bot lane. That's all they do. They play through bot lane, tank top, aggressive early game jungler, and a sustainable Lissandra Oriana mids. Come on. I mean, really? Misfits have been playing the exact same way.
That's not a play style. That's a team comp.
Yeah, that's the thing. Though.
You can play... There's so many mixtures of specific team comps that you can make that... I think you can probably try and gank around bot, That was again, I agree with that to an extent. That was the clear defined weakness of the RNG lineup of last year. But
the fact that they can only play through Hansama, and then when Hansama gets banned out, they don't know what to do.
See, that's again,
they banned out Lucian, Draven, and who else did he play? Kaisa? Yeah, he was done.
If you don't ban, again, I think that's really something that shouldn't have happened. He's able to play more than that. I don't know.
Yeah.
The problem is that he was not playing more than that. It really didn't seem like he could this year. He seems like a worse player than he did last year.
The bot lane got funneled kills first part of the split because that's when you would obviously have bigger bounties.
Again, Maxlor started playing worse. That is undeniable. He
played good for like 2 games maybe.
It was the first 3 weeks maybe.
No, because they were 4-2 at one point. He was playing good.
The first 2 or 3 weeks he played well, and I think that Soaz also fell off a cliff. I think it came down.
That was weird though. I did not expect Soaz to play good.
Soaz played so well at the beginning of the year, and I was really happy.
I would never thought those words would come out of my mouth ever.
Again, a lot of it came down to. By the way, I should have probably said this at the beginning. I'm gonna link our old rankings. From
no.
I'm just gonna link them inside of the description.
If he does that, I'm gonna quit this channel without pay for 2 weeks.
Without pay? Oh my god.
Oh yeah. What else did I feel like Febivin wasn't a clear-cut strong mid laner.
He was not the superstar everybody hoped him to be.
I didn't think he would be a superstar going in. He did not look good going in.
He looked pretty decent on on Clutch. He was the best in my opinion. He was the best.
They thought he was going to be some Jizuke level player.
I mean, he last year at points he was better than Jizuke. But the thing about it is, towards the end of the summer split is when he fell off a cliff. And I was like, you know what? That comes down to the fact that, again, we heard a lot of internal struggles. It came down to them not meshing well playstyle-wise. And we always, everybody thought he was going to bounce back because, again, we saw that he had, during the summer, the spring split of Clutch Gaming, he played really well.
I thought he was MVP, in my opinion.
I don't think he was MVP, but
he was second.
He was definitely, in my opinion, he was the best mid laner.
Yeah.
But when it came down to after that, it just looked like... it looks like this is just a moderately above average mid laner, and that's not what I expected Fevivin to be. The last time I seen him playing really good was when he was all-pro EULCS mid laner on HGK. I was like, I thought we were going to see that Fevivin back. I would have been fine with anything else besides this Fevivin. Again,
it's something he said on the shot caller. If you guys watch that, it's like an EU Travis for the EU. Fevivin, this is his own words, not mine. This is his words. Just because you have star players on your team doesn't mean they're going to play well together. I think people really do overrate what a star team could eventually achieve. Because just because you have star players, it doesn't mean they see the game the same way, they want to play the same way, their champions synergize the same way. There's a ton of teams, there's a ton of reasons. That's the reason why a superstar team wouldn't function. Once he said that in that interview, I was like, this is not going to be sustainable. This team is going to suck at one point. Because if they don't see the game playing it the same way, then they're going to have internal struggles. They switched out Jez's middle of the split. No, it was week 7, right? Was it week 8 or week 7?
I don't remember the exact week.
It was week 8 or 7, right? See, Gorilla probably, this is an assumption, Gorilla probably sees the game differently than Fevivin, and then Soaz probably sees it differently than Maxlor. They probably see the game differently and don't play correctly together. You have a collection of good players, doesn't mean it's going to work out.
I mean, it all comes down to this was again, this is something I moderately expected, but the level at which they're playing at was beyond my I did not expect them.
I'm not even going to count that win against G2 because G2 also threw that game.
Yeah, but I just didn't expect them to play like this. This was not.
You did expect them to play like that. Don't be like that.
Misfits?
Yeah, you weren't even hyped on them. You're like, this team is not going to be good.
I didn't expect them to be this bad. I expected them not to be as good as people are hyping up to be. People were putting them in first and second. No,
you put them at first. You need to look.
I put them
check
at
your
fourth,
brain.
And it was debating fifth, but. This was just over the top. I didn't expect them to be this bad. I expected more from them. It was. You could see this happening. You got a bunch of players who, in my opinion, playstyle wise don't fit together. I think you got Hansama, is this kind of funnel. Gorilla has pretty much functioned throughout his entire career with the utility.
On prey.
Yeah, utility / ADC / carry. I think that Hansama is more dependent on his support, and that's never been Gorilla's playstyle. On top of the fact, again, Gorilla support. Shot calling and playmaking, this always going to come down to lack of communication because he doesn't speak the language good enough. And so it was struggling last year. It was kind of surprised to pick him up. I don't think he was that bad, but he wasn't amazing. And he's just you needed something, I think, in my opinion, who wasn't gonna fight with Gorilla. Gorilla should have been the shot caller of this team. I think it would have worked out a lot better because it looked like this team
Polarizing personalities.
It really is. Like you have Fevin, you have Soaz, two extremely polarizing players. You have Maxlor. I don't know if he's polarizing at all. I don't know his personality well enough besides his playstyle. Maxlor fell off a cliff. He's one of the worst junglers in the league now. I think this team could have done well. I think they really did have the potential, and I don't think they're going to bounce back.
I think they should have at least gotten. They should have at least gotten SK Gaming's place if they had if they had picked it up just decently. They could have gotten 6th place.
Exactly.
They could have been in playoffs.
They could have, and on top of the fact that
they got 7th. They actually got 7th.
They do have a lot of individual talent on this team. Another thing that I think I'm kind of disappointed in. They really could have made it, and
because they beat G2 in their last game. I mean, that was kind of a throw, but I mean they still won. But overall, like, Fevin, he did play better toward the end of the split. He did play good. Like, everybody on the team at certain points showed reasons why they were supposed to be considered a really good player.
The one team I think we both really did mess up on, though, is going to be Origen. Origen is probably the one we messed up a lot on, too.
Okay. I think people are going to be mad when I say this. I don't think Origen are 2nd place what they're showing. I think they're showing it because everybody's substantially underperformed.
I'm gonna give it to him. Origen has the single best shot calling in the entire West. In the entire Western scene, they are the best shot calling team. I do think they have a lot of pretty decent individual players too. But when it comes down to raw talent, I do think they're on the lower end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I think that again, Patrick's a good player. Nuke Duck obviously is incredibly talented.
See, that's the thing. I had Origen in playoffs. He didn't.
Yeah.
I said this is a good team. This is a good team.
We debated it for a while, and we were like, I honestly...
I was like, this is just a playoff team. Literally what I said. Just a playoff team.
You said if at all. I think that was exactly
what like, if at all. This is just a playoff team.
We were... No, if at all. Like, you were debating...
I mean, to be fair, you had Splyce in your... I don't know. That was just luck. There was no... Splyce were terrible.
No, Splyce, again, I think Splyce's mindset was wrong about the game, but they have a lot of... Again, a really substantial amount of individual talent on this team. Like, Norskaren and Kabe, like...
Better, really good.
Everybody expected Norskaren. Like, Norskaren, 2nd best, if not best, support last year. Kabe is tremendously stepped it up. There's no way, like, there's no situation where I see...
The thing with Splyce is that, they played the same way they played. They've only recently started playing early game. Because that's how you get wins.
I'm going to say 2 teams get kicked out of playoffs next year, and it's going to be both SK and Splyce.
For next split, right?
Like, I think, like, the reason Splyce is able to function this way is because although they do try and stall out towards the late game, they don't know how to close out a game, and that's the biggest problem with them. But they have the individual talents to kind of stall out against a lot of the teams. But Norskaren and Kabe's ability to kind of dominate laning phase and really be able to play every facet of the game is what keeps this team together. If Kabe and Norskaren aren't completely on their game, this team loses.
See, that's the thing, like... That was shown very early. That was only shown more recently that they were going to be like in 3rd place. Every other top team started failing. G2 started like having their issues with Mickey, having his wrist hurting. Yeah. Then you had like Vitality. They were like 2nd place with Schalke tied for like 6 weeks in a row. I really don't think Splyce are what people are thinking. Like even the power rankings that I did in going into this week, I had them at like 5th. Where did Splyce finish?
They finished 3rd?
4th.
4th?
Yeah.
They're up there.
Yeah.
Oh, they finished right below Fnatic.
Yeah. Like, I really... Like, they're like FlyQuest. When other teams perform better, they're going to look worse because the better players are performing. But Splyce, even in their quick wins are 40 minutes. That's a quick win for them? You're kidding me. They're going to get destroyed by SK Gaming in the playoffs.
I don't think they are, honestly. Again, Splyce really... One of the strengths of this team is the ability for Crown Shot to pop off is one of the big definitive ways for them to win. And I think that Norskaren and Kabe are really just going to absolutely demolish this lane. I think that...
Oh, I forgot about him. Humanoid. I thought he was pretty good.
He was pretty good. I think the best out of all of them at this point, out of the new incoming, is Nemesis. Nemesis has completely stepped it up.
Oh, yeah, I was wrong about him when I first started. He was
really,
bad when he first started.
I don't think he was bad. He never lost laning phase. I just think, again, without a clear defined shot caller, he was not sure what to do around the map. And I really am going to put that all on the veterans. But he's stepped it up dramatically, and I think he's one of the best mid laners in the EU scene right now.
But for Splyce, I thought Humanoid was pretty... Oh, Humanoid was way better than Abadage.
Why are we even comparing them?
I thought Humanoid was good. I think Vizicachi was not good.
I think he started... Like, at the end of the year, I think Vizicachi stepped it up dramatically.
Yeah.
Vizicachi, at this point in the year, has surpassed Odoamne. I think there's a lot of good top laners in the EU scene now. I think I think that's the single most stacked role in the EU scene is top lane right now.
I don't think Splyce is. It's weird. I mean, they're in playoffs right now. I don't think this was a good showing from a lot of the top teams from the spring split, but Origin's different though. I think Origen's deserves place is 4th, because if you look at how Fnatic and Vitality were playing, those two should be 2nd and 3rd, which they are.
I disagree with that. I think Vitality might be 4th to 5th place.
Okay, he just doesn't like Vitality.
I mean, again, Vitality really doesn't. Their playstyle is stupid. They're an incredibly dumb team.
Okay, yeah. The same thing about Misfits not changing. Vitality doesn't change a bit.
I'll give them the only thing Vitality has going for them is complete raw individual talent. That's the only thing I really like. I respect them as players. I think a lot of them do have talent. Jutse's really good. Cabashard is one of the best top laners, one of the best players in general.
MVP. He's my MVP for the whole split.
It's one. I don't know about again.
Even though losses, he still performed really well.
I don't think he was MVP of the entire split.
I think
he's definitely in contention for one of the best top laners though. Him and Wonder are the only two in competition for that. To be fair, but
I think Cabashard he's playing insane. Like the reason why they were even able to win team fights and not roll over is because of him.
I mean, yeah. If you look at the Vitality versus Splyce game at the very beginning of the season, the one that Splyce was completely dominating the game, the only reason that Vitality actually ended up pulling out the win for that game is because Cabashard demolished Vizicachi so hard that they were able to they couldn't end the game because he was just too strong in the top lane.
Even the Vitality game versus Fnatic, the last time they played around, the reason why they were even able to be still in the game was because Cabashard smashed Bwipo really hard.
I mean, Cabashard's incredibly good. I don't think the top two are not debatable at this point. I think the top two players are just Wonder, Cabashard, just by far and away above everybody else.
Vitality's issue is the same thing. It's the same thing with another version of Misfits. They just don't change. Like Yamato said that people think that they're only a team fighting team. I'm sorry, Yamato. That's all they've shown us.
Exactly. I think that again,
if they can play the different styles, that's perfect. We haven't. I haven't seen it.
They're two again. They have two really strong solo laners, but their bot lane is extremely weak.
I like Attila and Jack Troll, but
they're good past laning phase, but their laning phase is absolutely terrible. It's one of the biggest reasons as to why Vitality is not a top tier team.
In defense of them, Mowgli does not give them ganks or resources.
They don't need ganks to not completely get demolished in laning phase. They're just not a good laning phase tank players. Like bot lane. They're extreme. They lose to most like. Kabi, Norscairn completely demolish them every time. Reckless, Hillisang would completely demolish them. I'd say Ignar, who aren't even that strong in the laning phase, beat them. I mean, even Dreams and Crown
Dream Shot. You're trying to make him a relationship name.
It wasn't. Dreams and Crown Shot would put up a really good fight in the laning phase against
them.
They
beat them. Yeah. They handily clapped them. I
just think that again, Attila is really good out of the laning phase, but until then, I think Jack Troll is the biggest weakness of this team by far.
I don't even know at this point. They're both not playing good.
They're both not playing well, and Attila is again. If they could pick it up past the laning phase, I think this could be a top 2 team.
Like some days they look like they're the best team in EU, and then some days they look like
I would never give them that much credit, but
some days they look like Rogue.
Yeah, but again, I think that their lack of actual they rely too much on individual talent, and that's gonna come. Towards the end of the summer split, when teams start gelling together better, they're really just gonna lag behind a little bit because again they really just don't. They're not synergized. They're not. It's not even just synergy. It's more so lack of decisiveness. They get an early game lead and then they win. That's how they get their wins. They don't get that early game lead. Almost always lose.
I had them exactly where they placed. I had them at 4th.
Yeah, I know.
You had them at 5th.
I had them at 5th.
Close. Any other bigger fails, kind of?
I mean,
that's pretty much it.
I want to talk about. I do think that was probably the biggest. We haven't talked about XL and Rogue. I think I want to talk about the 2 bottom teams.
It won't be long, but we'll go over them.
What is? We've only been doing it for 29 minutes.
I'm just kidding.
Don't be whining, man. But
I miss you.
Oh my God, Meg, stop.
God, your shoulders are so tense. Why does no one massage your shoulders?
I went to a massage lady when I had a back spasm. And she would not stop rubbing my shoulders, and that was not where the problem was. But
I like her. Can you recommend her?
No.
Dang
so
Excel. Sorry, that's
one of the best, in terms of just what's it called? How they play. One of the better early game teams in EU.
Yeah, I'll give
them that. That is literally the only part of the game they play extremely well.
I don't know what's wrong with them, but XL were like, we're going to switch out a player who wasn't even an issue just to put in another player who actually sucks.
Which one are you talking about?
Special for Exile.
I think Special is playing really well now. Like, I think he's really stepped it up.
I think he did, but it's not anything but better. It's nothing really better than Exile.
I honestly would say he's drastically better. At this point in the stage, his Zoe's incredibly good. Like, I think there's a lot of talent on this team. And
who's their bot lane? Oh, Jeskla and Mystiques.
Mystiques?
And Jeskla.
No, Mystiques is on a...
No, Mystiques is their new support because they switched him out for Kassane.
Yeah, it's Mystiques, right? Yeah, Mystiques is extremely, extremely good.
Yeah, he's not even bad.
He's so
but
good.
I don't think that was the... They're always switching out players that aren't the issue.
They weren't the issue, but... I mean, they weren't... Like, again, I think that they weren't an issue, but the people that are replaced with them are drastically better. Like, Special is drastically better than Exile, and and Mystiques is just incredibly good. I think this team is going to... 100%... They're going to be in contention for playoffs next year. I think they're so...
I think they will be just right outside
they could really,
of it.
Like, again, I think they're going to be fighting for the playoff spot, but their early game aggression is one of the better, like, it's one of the better, what's it called? It's the most, one of the more refined early games in the league.
Yeah, because Cadrill, what a big surprise.
He really is so incredibly good, and I ragged on him so hard. Remember at the beginning?
Okay, that was fair.
If you watch
that original video?
This video, our original power rankings, all we did when we talked about this team was say, wow, I can't believe why would they pick up Cadrill, and we did that the entire time, and he's been one of the better junglers in the league. His early game aggression is defined the style of this team. Mystiques has really helped. He's really just came along as a player. He's helped this team develop.
Yeah.
Jeskla sucks, and Expect
he will not let Jeskla live it down.
Well, that's because he's literally I don't know who's worse at him and Hiku, and that says a lot.
Why does Hiku still have a job?
Because I don't know.
He's their captain.
He's not the captain.
They said he was the team captain.
No one should have said that. So my big thing is
Expect on Excel was decent.
Extremely good. I think he's one of the better, like, throughout the entirety of the year, we saw him dominated Kabashard one time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's had a lot of good games. He's been one of the more consistent top laners in the league. Like, this whole team in general is just a good team all around. Like, and their whole problem was they got the early game leads and didn't know how to close out the game. And I really think they've worked on it a lot. And they're definitely not a bottom 2 team. They're not that bad anymore. I think they're better than Schalke right now. They're definitely better than Rogue. Mm-hmm. I think they might be even better than SK Gaming, and
I wouldn't say that. They're not consistent enough.
I would really put them up there. At the very least, they have a similar playstyle, and I think it's a really big toss-up for me. I know they're better than Misfits. Misfits is not even close in my opinion. I think they're one of the worst teams. Misfits, Schalke, and Rogue. I think that would put that one again. That would put them in 7th place, and I think
they're just right outside of playoffs next split.
That would put them in 7th place for me, and I think they really can fight SK team.
Yeah.
For like that 6th place, they really think it's in contention for me. So all around, I think that
I like that they were showing that they can move out good players and still put up the same results. Like, they improved each week. Like, you started seeing them do better things. Like, they were the first team to give G2 a close game. People, if you remember that.
Yeah, that was the first time we actually saw
them actually struggle. Yeah, they were the first team to give G2 a run for their money, and they almost won the game.
Yeah, they just didn't know how to close out a game, and that's really been the definitive weakness of this team, which I think they've drastically worked on.
Hashtag G2 Army.
Yeah.
All right, so Rogue. I had him lower than he did. He had him at 8th out of 9th. You bring in Rokat's infrastructure with Freddy, Prophet, and HQ. Like, anybody with a brain would have literally thought this was going to be a bottom 2 team. And, well, I hate to say I told you so, but yeah, I told you so.
Yeah, I mean, no one really expected them to be good. You
bring in Freddy, HQ, Prophet. HQ and Freddy were the worst parts about that Rokat team. Freddy's drafts are terrible. HQ is the worst ADC in the league.
HQ is the worst ADC in the league.
I like Prophet. I think Prophet is very underrated. He's actually not that bad.
Yeah, and Vander's not terrible. I think those are the only 2 moderately okay, and they're in the worst positions because those are the 2 least carried potential roles in the league, I would say.
Prophet's not as bad as people make him out to be.
I don't think he's that bad. I think, when they switched him out with Finn, I also don't think Finn is bad. But there's no, there was no reason to, and I think that a big portion as to why I don't think this team is going to be able to succeed. But again, they can't import anybody. They have to have a Polish player. I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because they have, again, the way it works is they have to have him from that specific country now.
Oh yeah, you're right. Huh? Dang, that sucks. I think their issue was that they even downgraded. They downgraded junglers too. If you look at if that's supposed to be the older Rocat roster, then they definitely downgraded in junglers. But Kikis was better than Memento most of the split.
It was kind of surprising. Memento, no,
So he was technically an upgrade.
I would honestly say in comparison, like last year's Memento compared to this one, complete downgrade.
But then as you look at it toward the split moves on, then it's definitely an upgrade.
At the beginning of the year, Memento still played a lot better.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the split, Memento was one of the worst. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So
but, man, they said they're gonna switch out Senkux for Larson. Larson has to finish school and then he's eligible to play in the LEC now because now with the new LEC rules, you had to be 18 years older and graduate high school to play.
Okay, so the only thing I care
thank God, because Senkux is terrible. I don't know what people thought this guy was good for. This guy's style of mid lane does not function in League nowadays. You cannot be a supportive mid laner. You gotta be like.
I think you can be a supportive mid laner.
Not with lanes they had.
I mean, yeah, there's no one to support. On top of the fact he's
not supporting
EQ. He's not good at it.
He literally had a couple good games on Jace. That was it. Senkux is not good. I don't know what people ever saw in that guy. He wasn't good to me ever.
Yeah, I think he was moderately okay last year, but he wasn't great. He was terrible this year.
God, and all right, so that's biggest duds.
I mean, that was just everything. We just covered every team besides one team we haven't talked about.
Fnatic fans are gonna hate us.
We've already talked about Fnatic.
Fnatic, really? Okay, he had Fnatic at first. I have Fnatic at second.
I think Fnatic, in terms of just play style, are the best team in the league. I think that Young Buck might be the single best, like one of the best coaches of all time for the Western team. I think that his drafts have really fit this team. Even when they were not playing well, I still think the drafts were fine.
I think Fnatic, like I said when I was talking about them in my EU videos, they were the Cloud9 of summer 2018. You come in, you change a couple players up, you have a bad split starting, and then when you finally find what style that sticks with you, and you finally find what style of champions that stick with you, they turn it around. Yeah, they played literally fast. They played all their lanes stopped inting. Reckless stopped sucking. Hillsang stopped sucking. Everybody just played good, and they were the hottest team. Literally just pulled a 180 on everybody. I'll stick by what I said. They did suck first part of the play. They were terrible.
I don't think anybody can refute that.
They were 0-6. They were on 4. Holy crap, they were bad.
I think there's
Nemesis. It's up in the air of whether he was the worst player on the team.
Never was the worst player. Never at one.
But I thought he was good. I thought he's definitely improved since then.
I still think he was the best player on the team throughout the entirety of the year until the end of the split.
I still don't think Bwipo is that good.
Bwipo's not playing that well. I think that's a really kind of sad thing to say since he's playing so well. Oh my god!
There was a funny thing about Bwipo. His girlfriend looked up the stats for top winners, and I saw like one of the champions games, and she was like, "Dang, that Jay sucks." They're like, "That's Bwipo." She's like, "Oh." I think Broxa is the MVP of Fnatic. I think without Broxa, they would not have did as well as they did.
I agree. Broxa has been one of the better. Again, I think Broxa has really taken on a more aggressive role towards the later half of the split. I think he tried to play the same similar facilitating playstyle he played last year, but he really just again the team's not functioning well. They're not winning lanes. He really does need to take that first step to kind of bring his team into the front seat of this.
He was trying to. He started to. He started playing like Nocturne in his Lee Sin.
But at the beginning of the year, he was actually not playing the game.
He was just sitting. He didn't have a jungler.
The only person who was even successful, he wasn't doing anything, and the only person who was moderately doing well in the lane phase was
Nemesis. Yeah.
So all right, I think I want to point out that I think that this team, one of the big reasons is the first one is the amount of pressure. The reasons that this Fnatic team came back into the top of the league.
Reckless started playing good.
It's more so the amount of power that came back into the ADC role with the crit reverts. I think that really did help this team out because, again, they're a centralized team that really does focus around the bot lane. And with a lot of the power being kind of drained from them, I think that really did have a big, it really did affect this team in a negative way because they really, even if you play well around, the bot lane, they can do a lot, but again, there's a lot of things they can't do because they're going to struggle against a lot of the roles that are stronger than them. But once the ADC crit changes, that was when we first started seeing Fnatic do decent. They didn't really do that well, but I still think Broxa was still playing poorly, but we saw a glimpse of I think the first game of the patch, Reckless just completely popped off. Correct?
I think what really mentally boomed them was the G2 game where Reckless chose Jinx. Remember how Youngbuck gave them 5 losing lanes?
Yeah.
Once they lost to G2 that first time around, the second fastest game in EULCS history, because yesterday SK broke that record against Vitality, was crazy by 20 seconds. Once they lost to G2 like that, then the patch came over the next week. They became a completely different team. They're like, it would be literally night and day about that Fnatic compared to the 1-1 that we have now. That is now. I think picking Vitality as their opponent might come back to bite them, but
I honestly think Vitality is not that incredibly good. I think they're one of the stupidest teams in the league. I still think that is the case. They have a lot of clear defined weaknesses. If they're going to take advantage of this bot lane in this series, and I can almost guarantee that, because that is the definitive weakness of this team.
All right, so what did you think about the Perks role swap throughout the split?
Perks,
I don't think it was bad.
I think it was actually more disappointing than I expected. I expected him, like, he
Really?
honestly... Like,
it wasn't that bad after a while.
I expected him to bring into the situation, like, in a lot of flexibility.
He did,
into the draft.
for a while.
He did not, because the problem with him is that he's not able to play actual ADCs as well as the actual... Like, if we're just talking about playing ADCs, he's one of the worst ones in the league. He can play at an average level. I would say not worst, but he's like an average.
He's like better than Jessica and Crown Shot.
And when he's playing mages, it's good. But again, that's a whole definitive, like, a whole type of, like, champion pool that you can't play with, because Perks just can't play them that well. Like, I really did think that this did. If they had upset on this team, I think they would have got one undefeated. If they had Hansama, probably undefeated. If they had anybody else, if they had Hikyu, they would have not won a game.
They would probably get
no.
They'd probably get 8th place.
Probably not. They would still have.
They probably would be at least top 3.
They would. But again, I think with a pretty decent support, ADC in this lane, I think they would have done a lot better. I like the fact that he brings versatility in some ways, but he needs to be able to play ADCs. He needs to improve. Like, again, he has a lot of talent. It's just rookie split, technically.
Technically, yeah.
Well, yeah,
I guess.
in this role, like,
that's the biggest technicality I'll give him.
It really is, but at the same point, if he doesn't improve, he's going to be a gigantic liability.
But
because
technically, switching out Caps for Perks did do them wonders a lot. Because Caps, at a certain point for them, was the only reason why they were winning.
But their weakness wasn't mid lane last year, and I think that Perks would have won them a pretty substantial amount of games too. Like, I think this G2 lineup is better. I think,
in my personal opinion, that they will still win the split.
I don't know, because again, I think Fnatic and Origen probably can both beat them right now. As it stands, they're both smarter than them.
But here's the reason why they lost. They brought the God Promise Q in the lane.
Fair enough.
See, there you go.
But again, I agree that Promiscu is a biggest reason as to why they didn't succeed at the end of the
Okay, he was actually terrible.
I
don't know what players say about him. They say he's a god in scrims.
Well, he's a terrible in not scrims.
Did you see that Alistar game? Oh, God.
But I'm going to be honest. I think that G2 is going to struggle because their shot calling is almost non-existent to an extent. I think they rely... Again, they're like Vitality, but way better. They're way better players.
So that's the thing. People said they can't play macro, but in their defense, first part of the split, you didn't need macro. They were beating people by 20 minutes.
We're not in that part of the split anymore. They need it. They have drastically... In terms of just laning, they're still one of the best teams in the league. In terms of
like macro, they're one of the worst teams.
Yeah, again, they're not good at playing from behind. They rely purely...
They rely purely off Caps bringing them back into the game.
They have Caps. They have Wonder. Both of them incredibly good players. I think that gives them a lot of versatility. Mm-hmm. Yankos is one of the best junglers in the league this year. I think that really is why this team is succeeding so much.
I even said they have the strongest top side in the league, which is why they would be first.
But Perks and play Lucian a bit.
Perks and Mickey were really good ball lane at one point.
I only think they're moderately decent when Perks isn't playing an ADC.
Like, Mickey was an underrated person on the team. Mickey provided a lot for the team.
Mickey was one of the better supports last year, though, so that's not really too surprising.
But they said he'll be better by playoffs, so thank God the God Promise Q will not be playing. Best game.
Best game?
Like, best games, like top 3 games that you can remember.
Undeniable best game was G2 versus Fnatic.
Oh, what a great game. That was probably one of the best games I've ever seen in a while. That was just incredible.
I think that one's pretty much the top of the list.
You got...
the second time, by the way, I want to point that out. The first time was not very fun.
The first time was just...
Not a very fun game to watch.
But yeah, the second time around... Fnatic versus Vitality? Second time around? back and forth team fighting. I thought it was a great game. It'd be one of my favorites. G2 versus Vitality.
I was gonna say the Origen versus G2 game.
Origen versus G2.
They won the first time they lost. I think
fair enough. That showed how good Nuke Dog really is, because going into that week, you said Caps isn't gonna roll over Nuke Dog.
I said that he's not good enough to just beat him down. That's true. He's not. The top 3 mid laners are all competitive with Caps, and I don't think he's able to beat any of them definitively.
Mine would be G2 Fnatic second time around, Fnatic versus Vitality second time, and what's the other one did I say? Oh, G2 versus Vitality the second time around. All from the second half of the split. Man, that G2 versus Vitality game, Vitality, Vitality, they throw so hard, man. But their games are so fun to watch, because you don't know if they're gonna throw the game or they're gonna win the game. I love watching their games.
So yeah, I mean,
but yeah, you said Origen versus G2.
I think that was,
and the G2 versus Fnatic game.
The good thing about the Origen versus G2, it really kind of showed the league what type of team Origen was. They're not incredibly talented in terms of mechanics. They have a lot of weaknesses in
but
that
it shows
aspect.
they really have a really good mid laner.
It's not even just that. I mean, again, Nukeduck did carry, but it comes down to, I think that Mithy played it. Mithy has been one of the most criticized players in the league for the past 2 years, and he's really just changed my mind completely this year. His ability to shot call has been one of the reasons as to why this team is succeeding. His ability, he's one of the primary engagers. Like, it's just Origen, in my opinion. It's gonna, like, if it's the first and second place team, I think that Origen might honestly beat G2 the first time coming around and go straight to the finals. I could see it. Like, again, they lose in the laning phase.
So that's the thing, though. In a best of... See, we're looking at all this through a best of 1 eyes. In a best of 5 eyes, this is way different.
We still got to see what types of teams these were. Again, they don't magically grow shot calling in a best of 5. They have to be able to do it.
But you definitely grow styles and team comps in best of 5.
You can kind of... Again, see what like they're playing like on that specific patch. Like, you see what they did in game 1, but you're not going to become a different team by the end of that. It rarely ever happens. So I'm gonna say that I would really like to see.
What other games?
Like, I don't care about the games really that much.
No, you didn't pick a third one. Was there not any other games besides those 2?
I picked the same first 2 as you.
And no, but you picked G2 and Origen, and you picked Vitality and then G2 and Fnatic the second time around.
I picked your first 2 were the exact same as mine.
Even Vitality versus Fnatic?
It was, no, what were your first 2?
Vitality versus Fnatic second time around, G2 Fnatic second time around,
was that
and G2 and Vitality second time around. If you have a third game, or
I would say the first game of the season versus SK Gaming versus no, sorry, the tiebreaker, sorry.
The tiebreaker on Schalke?
Tiebreaker is Schalke versus SK Gaming.
You just like Schalke.
I really like Schalke. And that was kind of it's a big indicator of like it just shows how good of a early game team, just a player self-made is. He really was able to take the game over single-handedly and just win the game for them.
He really carried in the playoffs.
One of the few he carried them to playoffs. Just what it is. He's the only outstanding player on this team. Everybody else is moderately average.
Let's say worst games of the split.
Worst game? I mean,
watching anything Rogue played.
No. I mean, Rogue was either just getting stomped or they were playing smart. Like,
I would okay if they don't count because they're part of technicality. Anything Splyce played was terrible.
I mean,
they bored the absolute crap out of me.
Splyce games were the single most boring games in the league. Like the Splyce versus Vitality game.
Woo!
They got a gigantic lead, did nothing. I was like,
sat there and did nothing.
Like, I really wanted to say that Vitality.
Single worst game? Oh man, where you just got completely wrecked. Yesterday at SK versus Vitality, that was terrible by Vitality. What in the world? That was garbage, man. God, it looked so beautiful back then. You had hair back then, too.
I had a lot less hair back then.
God, you were ugly.
You've said that like 7 times today, and now I'm kind of getting my feelings hurt.
Oh, gosh. Best games, worst games, biggest upsets. Going into playoffs, who do you think is going to surprise the most?
I think the most surprising team is probably going to be Origen. I think I've said that like 7 times now. I think that SK Gaming might win this first series, and might surprise some people, but it's not like that. That's just a toss-up to me. First series.
See, Fnatic and Vitality is the biggest toss-up I got.
I don't think so.
I think picking them was a mistake.
I think Fnatic picked the correct team.
Really? They couldn't choose Splyce because they 2-0'd them in the
Gaming
split.
is kind of surprising because, again, I think it all comes down to the fact that Selfmade is a big... he's the big, factor.
He said, Reckless said he didn't want to choose SK because they already did lose to them.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's not because they lost to them. It's because there's so many factors going into SK Gaming. Like, they're the obvious worst team, in my opinion, but... on a really good day, on Selfmade's really good day, he could single-handedly win the series for them. Vitality, all good players, but if you can shut them down just by playing smarter than them. I think that you can't really do that with Selfmade because you don't have vision of him constantly. And on top of the fact, his one of the best pathings in the league, if not the best.
So the thing though, SK one day could play like Vitality, and then the next day they're playing like XL. That's I just don't. See, the thing with Vitality is that they have good enough players to actually crush you so hard you don't get a chance to play the game, though. They're literally just playing like G2, except with not even really worse players, really.
They do have worse players. I mean, obviously the jungle is worse. The bot lane, in my opinion, is drastically worse. So, they're just a worse version of G2, in my opinion.
I just feel like this is a bad decision for Fnatic. I can see Vitality beating them. That's the thing.
I can't see that at all. I honestly, the way recent play has happened, I see Vitality getting 3-0'd. I don't believe in Vitality in the slightest. I haven't done it since the beginning of the year. Then again, I believed in Schalke, so I don't know how much validity you can put
I don't know how much credibility you can give him.
I
actually put them in the exact right spot I knew they would be in. 4th.
Schalke was not 4th. You mean Vitality? Okay.
Schalke were definitely lower, as I predicted.
Vitality, I mean, that was a toss-up for me. I almost put Vitality at 4th, but I put him at 5th.
I told you to put my 4th.
I'm not listening to you.
Yeah, I should never listen to you about SK Power Rankings, Griffin being 1st, and SKT. He said, Chovy won't be good.
She wasn't that good last year.
That whole SpongeBob meme.
And it's very possible that Griffin doesn't even get 1st. They haven't locked it in. They're a game up, maybe?
I think so.
Maybe not even a game. I think
that this is just a bad week from them.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough. I think they're a lot better than they're playing, but let's think. They're 1 game up on 2 teams, and only 2 games up on the 4th place team. They could easily get 4th place. There's a few games left, and they
picked the worst time to drop the ball.
Next week they could drop from 1st place all the way to 4th.
That is crazy. They picked the worst time to suck. Why did they pick this time to suck?
Actually, they're a game and a half up on these two. These two still have to play a game. They could.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
So all around, I think this is pretty definitive. Again, there's a lot. We were stupid. We did terrible on this.
Next split, I'll know what I need to know.
I think
next split, I'll know what I need to know. If Schalke not get in my playoffs,
it makes me sad. Yeah.
And why did I listen to you? Because I knew that wouldn't be good.
You didn't know anything. There's no way you could have predicted that team to be bad. With
I said,
actual knowledge of their players.
Coming in, Ignar did not perform well coming in.
That's incorrect.
On BBQ.
Played completely fine on BBQ if you actually watched their games and didn't watch the
Abadage, whose only competition in TCO was GBM. GBM's not good.
GBM was so good. What? GBM was incredibly good. And he's only been bad 1 split. I mean, the 1 year, and that was the 1 year he came on to NA. And he was only bad for 1 split. He was really good in the first split. That's correct. His entire
team fell off really hard.
He was really good in the first split of NA.
For the first few weeks,
it was the entire split, dude.
Who else had it? Odawame did not look substantially good coming in off of Splyce.
Yeah, I'll give him that, but again, he still looked really solid.
Yeah.
Looked like the single best ADC in the league last year.
But it's like the thing,
and Memento looked like the best jungler in the league.
You had a bunch of proven / unproven players. You had Dylan coming in. Dylan, they had a lot of question marks coming in.
They did not. Again, they had a lot of players that had proven themselves in the past. Odawamne, more often than not, has been one of the most solid top laners in the league. That's correct.
They've really only played once.
They did not play any style because they haven't played together.
They haven't really played us.
They haven't played together.
They have a style now. Their style is losing.
That's the style they would probably get smashed by Rogue now. And that's not an exaggeration. I think they're the worst team in the league right now.
Rogue is the best team in existence.
That makes me sad.
Do you think G2 can beat Rogue?
No.
Do you think G2 can beat Griffin?
Alright, so if you have any disagreements, don't leave them in the comments because I don't care about you guys.
Alright.
I don't care about criticisms.
He's back, guys. Wait, did you leave?
I haven't stopped it yet.
Alright.
I think you're going to say something.
Oh, crap.
Okay. I thought you had something to say.
No, we're going to say the MVP stuff. Oh, so technically what we could do afterwards for EU, since they take a break next week, is picking our all-pro EU LEC pro teams. So 3 teams, all pro players.
We're gonna be doing that. I think it's gonna be happening in the next week at the very
Yeah, because
least.
EU takes their break next week, so I thought it'd be a nice thing to do it for them.
I wanted to wait until NA finished so we could do them all close together, but he wants to do it a little bit earlier.
A tiny bit.
So we'll talk about it beforehand.
Because I'm right about NA too. Oh, I love being right. Me.
See you later.